This is the 12th Man Postgame Show, powered by Real Steel. Find yours. Visit your local steel dealer today. On your home for the 12th Man and the NFL. Seattle Sports Radio 950, KJR.
Well, I mean, just another typical Seattle Seahawks football game, right? I mean, isn't this exactly what we should expect on a week-by-week basis, that the Seahawks are going to struggle early, they're going to look like a fourth-grade offensive football team for 2.5 quarters, and then they're going to erupt for 20 points in the fourth quarter and come from behind to beat the arch-rival San Francisco 49ers 26-23. It is the final regular season version of the 12th Man postgame show presented by our friends at Steel. I'm here, Dick Fain. Slickhawk is with us. Hugh Millen is going to join us in about 10 or 15 minutes to break down, a bizarre game, Slick. But as we know, bizarre is the way of the Seahawks. So is it truly bizarre when something is always bizarre?
Oh, boy. This should be a show of absolute celebration, unquestioned celebration. A 12-4 football team that's going to the playoffs, a division winner. And I know what they want me to do. I know what the Seahawks want me to do. They just want me to look at that fourth quarter point total and look at the final score and just be happy with what happened. And I'm just having a hard time getting there when I spent 2 hours and 45 minutes being angry at the world because they did absolutely nothing. And then finally turned it on in the fourth quarter. I don't get it. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who this team is anymore. The defense is good and the offense isn't. Russell Wilson looks drunk is the only way I can describe it. And the season's over. We're going to start the playoffs. I have no idea what to think.
There's been choking
time to work this stuff out. So I don't know.
He's been choking down some grandma's cough medicine, is what you're saying, recently in the last few weeks. But
doesn't look like himself at all.
Well, he doesn't look like himself until this offense gets into rhythm, and it's pretty simple now. We've seen it for 16 games. When this offense has a threat of a running game, they move the football. They move the football on the ground, and they move the football in the air. When they don't have any semblance of a running game, they don't move the football anywhere. Ground game, pass game, nothing. When the other team knows that Russell Wilson is just going to drop back and pass, it is over. And I mean, you just got to go back and look at two tweets. One I had at halftime and one I had with about 2 minutes left to go. The halftime tweet was 25 dropbacks, 11 runs equals 6 points. The last tweet was 12 carries, 65 yards. That's what they did in the fourth quarter. They handed the ball to Chris Carson and Alex Collins, who I was told by many people in the middle of the season that you can't have a running game because all you have is Alex Collins. Well, the guy looked pretty damn good today against the defense that was really good against the run for 3.5 quarters. So I don't know why you couldn't give the ball to Alex Collins back in October when you needed to. But when this team devotes themselves to the run, it's not always going to be pretty. It wasn't pretty in the first quarter. They weren't running the ball well in the first quarter. But you can't just quit on it. You can't just say, what the hell? We can't run. We're just not going to run anymore. And that's what they did in the second and third quarters. They threw their hands up. They said, we're not even going to try to run the ball. They had the pass drive for a punt. And they finally decided, come hell or high water, and it started with that Chris Carson. Actually started with a run/pass. It was the little dump off to Chris Carson for 11 yards that actually kind of got it going, and then he busted a 9-yard run after that. Sometimes it's just a play or two like that can get the whole offense back on track again. Balance is the name of the game. They had balance in the fourth quarter, Slick, and they scored 20 points.
I don't subscribe to that, and I know you do. I think that's really oversimplifying things. I mean, you have more opportunities to run the football if you're not going 3 and out. If you don't have a drop here or a sack there. So, I mean, it's you sustain drives and you're going to run the ball, and that's going to lead to more passing and everything. It's just an entire offensive thing. I mean, if they had, let's say they get a couple third down conversions and move the ball there in the first half, then you're going to be running too. You're not just going to be throwing the ball. But something happens, you get a false start. Now you're behind the sticks. Now you have to throw, or you do have a run that doesn't work, and now it's 2nd and 9, and now you do kind of have to throw. So it's not just, they're not running the ball and 25 dropbacks and 11 carries in the first half. There is something not right about Russell Wilson. He's not seeing the field the way he usually does, and the way he's throwing the ball deep. He's supposed to be the best deep ball quarterback in the NFL, and he has not been that, not even close. I don't understand it.
We'll talk to Hugh about that. You're exactly right. We did see some real Russ there in the fourth quarter. I mean, we saw the beautiful misdirection, lob it over the top to Tyler Lockett. That was a vintage Russell Wilson to Tyler Lockett pass right there. But yeah, to your point, yes, you are correct. And we'll ask Hugh, is there something mechanical? Is it simply just between the ears? And we'll see what he says based upon what he saw in this game. I mean, we've asked him that question in prior games, but every game's a little bit different. So the answer to the what's wrong with Russ question may be different after this game than it was after some of those other games. But, let's play alternate reality for a second here, alternate universe for a second, Slick. Let's say the fourth quarter never happened and the Seahawks lose 16-6. There would be a lot of angst in this city. There would be a lot of people just completely throwing their hands up, like I read on Twitter, saying, well, this is a first-round exit without question. No, I mean, why even go to the playoffs? You're not going to win, blah, blah, blah. I don't feel like this comeback makes a bit of difference in whether they win next week's game or not. I would have been just as confident, whatever my percentage was of them beating the Rams next week, is going to be exactly the same now as it was if they lost 16-6 in this game. Do you agree with that? Or do you think that this comeback actually did something that's going to help them in the future?
Well, they'll feel a little bit better about themselves these next 6 or 7 days leading into the game. I mean, tangibly, there was no difference winning or losing this game just because of what happened above you in the conference. Yeah, the outcome of this game, I guess it didn't matter a whole lot. I mean, for me and the way I feel about the team, whether they won or lost this game, I still have anger and concerns. So, and I really don't want to be talking about anger and concerns wrapping up a season when we just finished 12-4 and won the division. And so I have a hard time kind of wrestling with that. But I mean, that's just kind of where we are right now, because it's a team that leaves me after 17 weeks. I'm still scratching my head at this team.
Well, is that unfair expectations on your part that you have? I mean, everybody has concerns unless they're the 2007 Patriots and they're just blowing everybody out every single game. I mean, every team has got concerns. I guess my take is there's such a thin line between the Seahawks and the Packers and the Saints and even the Bucks. I mean, there's such a thin line. It's going to come down to one or two plays. It might even come down to one or two fluky plays that on any other given day would have gone the opposite direction. So I guess I'm not going to panic so much, because my expectations for this team were never to win the Super Bowl this year. This to me did not look like a Super Bowl winning team. At no part of this season did it look like a Super Bowl winning team. So I'm not going to be one of those that is like, oh my God, they didn't make the Super Bowl. What a failure of a season. I'm enjoying it for a division championship, 12-4. I think they're going to win at least one, if not two playoff games, and it's going to be a successful season in my mind. I don't know how you can't have a successful season under the parameters that I just painted.
Yeah, but I'm going to disagree with you about your own expectations, because I'm pretty sure I've either heard you say or agree that if you could get the defense to just a mediocre level, that this should be a Super Bowl team.
Yes, if the offense played like it was the first half.
And the defense is beyond a mediocre level.
Yeah, but the
defense is actually good now.
Yeah.
And you have the same players, the exact same players on offense, with the exception of Brandon Shell.
You got the exact same players on defense, except Carlos Dunlap. He's the only difference.
Well, and Jamal Adams is back, but the defense has changed things. They've changed scheme. They've brought in DJ Reed as a starter now. You mentioned they acquired Carlos Dunlap. They're using Jordan Brooks more, and he's more effective. He's better. He's gotten better every single week as the season has gone on. So you've got all these changes on defense, sure, but nothing's changed offensively. Other than, you had Carson out for a while and you got him back. So I don't know where the disconnect is, but there is one. I think our expectation should be Super Bowl because we know that Russell Wilson and this offense are capable of great things, but they need to do those great things now.
Well, I guess the one thing we can hang our hat on is there's very few teams in the NFL, probably just one in the Chiefs, maybe the Bills, but certainly none in the NFC that can say that, hey, we have seen both sides of the football play elite level for a long period of time. Yeah. I mean, the offense played at an elite level for like a month and a half in September and October, and the defense has now played at an elite level for 2 months at the end of the season. The only thing is they haven't ever put it together. So these other teams, I mean, when is the Saints, other than maybe like a game here or there, played at an elite level, both running the ball and passing the ball? When have the Packers played elite defensive football for long stretches of time? They haven't all season long. So at least the Seahawks have that to hang their hat on.
It's going to be an interesting playoffs. Yeah, the Chiefs, they look great, although even they have looked kind of susceptible here down the stretch.
They look kind of bored, I think, in the last month, honestly. They've looked pretty bored. They're like, what the hell, dude?
But yeah, it's what teams have gotten close. Right. Yeah, so I think, do we know now it's the Rams? It's definitely the Rams.
Yeah.
Next week. Yeah. So that's the team you played, last week, and then after that, it'll be what you would most likely travel to New Orleans. So, yep. I think that they're gettable, but you've got to play a really solid game, and so it is not a lot of time between now and then to kind of figure things out. But it starts with number 3. Everything starts and ends on this team with number 3.
All right, Dick Fain, Slickhawk with you. It's the Steel 12th Man postgame show. We'll bring Hugh Millen in next for a nice solid 30-minute or so breakdown of what happened in this one. We'll have Hugh talk about what he saw from Russell Wilson today. Was there something mechanical? Was it confidence issues? And what changed in his mind in the fourth quarter? And we'll also have him break down. We got to have him break down a play. Why not have him break down the game winner, right? That beautiful misdirection, roll out to the right, throw back to the left to Tyler Lockett. We'll have Hugh Millen break that down for us next right here on 950 KJR.
Tune in to Chuck and Buck every weekday morning for the 12th Man News at 7 with Tacoma News Tribune's Greg Bell on your home for the 12th Man and the NFL. Seattle's Sports Radio 950 KJR.
All right, guys, here we go. Last 6 was Slick. I guess we'll have one more in this show, but the last 2 of the regular season. So hit me with your comments and just tell me, am I wild? Am I crazy? Because look, I should feel happy. We should all feel happy about the fact that we're division winners. We're 12-4. This is a great thing. As a kid, I would have never imagined 12-4 for my Seahawks unless it was on my Tecmo Bowl. But there's so many question marks. So should I just shut up and enjoy the fact that we won the game? We got the regular season healthy without COVID issues and everything, and they were primed for a great playoff slot in the game next week against the Rams that we're hosting? Or what should I do with this? Because I had a lot of anger for a lot of time this game. And that angst that Dick talks about, yeah, I got a little bit of that too. I'm a little bit angry, and I have anxiety leading into this because I just don't know what's going on with the quarterback. Lyle says, can we not just play with our food? Oh, Scar from The Lion King, that kind of thing. No, I don't know. It's weird, man. I tweeted after the Seahawks got down 10 points. Okay, can we take out the good plays now? Can we maybe flip to that page in the playbook? So I don't know, but it just seems like a lot of these post-game shows here in the last half of the season, I've been asking the question, what's Russell Wilson looking for that he's not seeing? Because there's something out there he's looking for. He's looking, and it ain't there. And it's not looking good. And so he doesn't seem confident. I think maybe I'm reading too much into things, but even sometimes on the deeper throws, he'll double clutch before letting it go. He looks timid out there, and I just don't see the same Russell Wilson, and I don't know what's happened to the deep ball. but he just looked confused, man. Sam says, I lost it. Mike, perfect scenario for the Hawks, playing injured AB team next week, then host or go to the Dome for next week, then maybe host Tampa Bay. Ooh, Tampa Bay, they look a little scary right now. I mean, you could score on them. Their defense hasn't been that great. Sam says, Russ looked like he was having difficulty with his deep ball. It didn't have the touch factor. He definitely did, not on the deep ball. Now, you think, okay, well, is there something going on? Maybe an injury. But then he lasers that ball in for the first touchdown pass, Tyler Lockett. I mean, he hummed that thing in there. So you got to think his grip is okay. And then the other thing coming out of this game is Jamal Adams, obviously, with his injury, and is he going to be okay? Is it just one of those where it's just a pain management thing? Because, I mean, the dude that he is, I would think he would play through just about anything if he could. I know he sat out the rest of the game today, but I'm talking playoffs. Look, Jamal Adams, there's no way he's going to want to miss the playoffs. So unless there's like some real damage in there, you got to think that that's something he's going to play through. All right, the offense play questionable. Questionable to me would be generous. I thought the offense played horrible. Now they found something there in the fourth quarter. I don't know what it was or where it was in the playbook or execution or whatever. But I mean, they got there, right? They got the win. The Niners are not supposed to be a tough team. This is a team that you blew out 6 weeks ago. So I just don't see why it would be a team that you struggle with now. Certainly offensively, because they're banged up. You're going to struggle with Kittle. You're playing CJ Beathard. I thought the defense played a good game, but the fact that the offense could not get anything going until the fourth quarter was so concerning to me. Ron, Seahawks barely win again. Can't wait to see what happens. It's the roller coaster of the Seahawks, and I guess I should be used to it by now. I shouldn't be angered by now, but it's something that it's hard to get used to as a fan, as somebody who watches this team and lives and dies with every snap. I get frustrated. I get upset. All right, Goldie says Russ needs to play much better. He's missing the throws he normally makes. And you know what? The throws that he's missing, as far as just not delivering the ball, those don't concern me as much as the throws he's just not making. He's not throwing the ball. There was one play where, I mean, I'm standing there, my hands are up because I see the tight end. Now, I don't know where the safety is, but I see the tight end looks wide open about 15, 20 yards downfield, and just checks it down to Tyler Lockett. I would think it was a 3rd and 2 to pick up the first down. Now, obviously happy you pick up the first down there, but it seemed like there was a lot more that he could have bit off. I'm sure Hugh will talk about those plays. Cowboy 3 feels the frustration and anger. Now it's interesting when it comes in a win, when they kind of right the ship at the end. They get the 21 points in the fourth quarter to wrap the thing up, and I was barely paying attention at the end when they gave up that garbage time drive to the 49ers. So, but it's real easy to feel that frustration, even at 3 quarters of football. All right, he was going to break it all down. He's jumping on next here on the 12-man postgame show presented by Steel, right here on Sports Radio 950 KJR.
Now back to the 12th Man postgame show, powered by Real Steel. Find yours. Visit your local Steel dealer today on your home for the 12th Man and the NFL. Seattle Sports Radio 950 KJR.
A victorious 12-man post-game show presented by our friends at Steel. Steel dealerships, independently owned and operated with over 10,000 dealers nationwide. There is one near you, so support a small business in your community. Visit your local Steel dealer today. Real Steel. Find yours. Dick Fain, Slickhawk, and now joined by Hugh Millen. And Hugh, welcome on. And just another typical Seattle Seahawks game. It's not like we haven't seen this 5,000 times before, but give me some of your general thoughts before we get specific.
Well, my general thought is, first of all, congratulations to the Seahawks and at 12-4. I mean, you guys have the numbers in front of you. How often have they been in their entire history but at 12 or more wins? So regardless of how they did it, I just think that's really laudatory to have that type of a season. Today, it's probably a weird psychology for the players in that, yes, Pete Carroll was trying to preach to them that we're hammering down, trying to go for the number 1 seed. We're all in on this game. But I think the players are smart enough to know the long odds there. All of the scenarios were likely directing Seattle towards that number 3 seed. So you wonder if that was a part of it. They didn't have the motivation, but for their part, San Francisco, what motivation should they have had? Here they are, the defending NFC champs, played in the Super Bowl, playing with the third string quarterback, probably the most injury depleted team in all of the NFL. And yet they were game today, and Seattle just really struggled offensively, as we saw. But I think those points notwithstanding, just take the helicopter rise up of another 10,000 feet, look at it from a big picture perspective. Boy, oh boy, 12 wins is really something. So congratulations.
No question about it. I mean, just top of the head. I mean, it's happened so few times, Hugh, as you mentioned. I mean, you can just go top of the head. You can go 1984 with Dave Craig. You can go 2013 when they won the Super Bowl at 13-3. You can go 2014 at 12-4. And this, Slick, am I missing any? I mean, I think this
sounds like it.
I think it's 4 years out of 45. Yeah. So, I mean, for anybody to nitpick on 12-4, and I understand Slick's point, it's like, okay, it's not the prettiest 12-4 in the world, but, I don't know if there's a lot of pretty 12-4s, honestly. If you really follow football teams and teams that go 12-4, there's probably 4 or 5 games in there that they win that are kind of ooky looking. And obviously the 4 losses are ooky looking. So there's half your season right there. That's probably, and you've been there, right? I mean, it's not like everything's going to be a Monet, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. And defensively, you're fine. Look, you're going against a third string quarterback. I don't know how much the motivation was there, but for, that one-handed catch by Kittle, when Quandre Diggs made a bad play on the ball, it feels like Seattle's defense was fine. I mean, they gave you more than a winning performance. The offense was, of course, the enigma today, and they couldn't get anything going in the running game up the middle. And Chris Carson was electing to bounce things out to the outside. And I thought, look, Fred Warner is arguably in the discussion for the best linebacker in football. I thought their linebacking core, he and the rest were pretty active getting off blocks. I don't think that was a good matchup for Seattle for a good portion of that game. Now, of course, you wear them down eventually, a big line like Seattle, and so you start to get more yards in the passing game in the fourth quarter. But the rest of it was just the utter depletion of big plays by Seattle. And I know there's the graphic on the telecast that, by the way, shout out to the Porch Sports Bar down here in Phoenix. I'm down in Phoenix, and they had a couple of Seahawks games on the TV. So any Seattle guys heading down to Phoenix, I promise I'd show my appreciation. So they were good. So here I am. I'm kind of doing this, maybe not my normal logging of the plays, but was able to take in it all. And I think Russell Wilson, because I heard you guys at the end of the last segment. My theory is Russell Wilson has been such a protector of the football over the course of his career that he got into double-digit interceptions. And, of course, it's the Pete Carroll mantra, protect the ball, the ball, the ball, the ball. It's all about the ball, right? They're constantly preached that. And I think Russell got to the point where he's just like, I'm not throwing any more interceptions. And the paradox for that is, as a quarterback, there's a saying, if you see a receiver open, he's covered. When you're playing at your best, and I'm not saying I ever played at a level, but just me observing the great players that I played with and watching this game for 40 years in that position for 40 years, you've got to anticipate, guys, and you've got to pull the trigger, because if you're thinking through essentially saying, yeah, I think he's going to be open, let me check and make sure that he's open because I really don't want to throw an interception. Oh, yeah, it looks green light. Okay, now I can go. Like, you can't play that way.
That's the hesitation that Slick was talking about.
And so you define what constitutes open for you. Think of, and it's not just football. Think of John Stockton on the beautiful, like, no look bounce pass to Karl Malone. Just like you've got to, when you're playing at that level, your mind is seeing it like a movie before it happens. And when you think the light turns green, you can't hesitate. When that light turned green in your mind, you got to go now. Because if you, in essence, as I described, if you say, okay, the light's green, are you sure it's green? Am I sure it's green?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, just that moment of hesitation, now all of a sudden in the National Football League, guess what? Guys aren't going to be open, really open. And when they are open, the window's going to open in zone coverage and they're going to shut. And in man coverage, if he's open, it's going to be open by a step. You're not going to get a bunch of guys running wide open. It's not frat sorority touch football at the beach. You gotta anticipate it's going to be tight windows and rip it in there. And so if you're too consumed with throwing interceptions, man, all of a sudden your game's going to dry up. And I think that the big plays just didn't. Now credit Russell, he had a change of mindset, and I thought that play that he made where he was running backwards, and he threw the ball to Tyler Lockett in the flat over to the right to get about a 7-8 yard gain at what could have been another throwaway and another long yardage situation, or possibly even a sack, because we've seen that. I thought that was a little bit of a catalyst in that last touchdown drive, early in that last touchdown drive. But I think Russell, clearly you just saw him focus. And I played with John Elway, and there was something. Elway didn't always have great games, and he was a relatively laid back. I played with Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman was high strung from the moment of the first play to the end. But Elway was kind of like a little bit more laid back. But if he looked up in the fourth quarter and there was a chance to win the game, he had total amnesia. It didn't matter what he had done in that game. And I think Russ, when they got down to the second half of the fourth quarter, like the last eighth of the game, right? The final eighth of the game, right?
He throws caution to the wind. Like, I got to go.
I think at that point he says, I want to win. I want to win. And if I need to run more, I'll run. If I need to be more decisive, I'll be more decisive. Like, I don't want to lose this game. I want to freaking win. And I think that kind of engages a more aggressive mentality in the dichotomy to which I spoke. I think that now all of a sudden that's not so prevalent in his mind. Now, all this is pure conjecture in my mind. It's kind of an educated guess, having been around quarterbacks, right? But we're taking the known phenomenon, which is the lack of any real passing game, and we're trying to ascribe a cause to it. And that's my best explanation for it.
How about mechanically? Is there anything, because obviously the timing's one thing, and maybe it's just the timing, that he is so badly missing 40-yard passes, which that was his bread and butter for the first 8 years of his career. Is there anything mechanically that you're seeing when he cocks back and throws deep right now?
No, I'll study it more. Like I said, I was at a sports bar here in Phoenix, but
sure.
But it is surprising to see on a go route. You can't throw the never in the history of football ball, which is the ball that's 8 yards out of bounds, right? And he had a few of those, right?
Yeah,
those have never been caught, and so and that again can be part of that mentality of being too concerned about making mistakes. You can't go up to the plate and be so consumed with the idea of striking out. If that's all that you're worried about, I just can't have another strikeout.
Yeah.
Then you can't play. And I think Russ, there's no question. Look, they call these deep intermediate play actions where he's going to take the play action. He's going to have a 9-step drop, and he's got a lot of times they'll max protect that up. Maybe have, one or two tight ends in, and it's really I call it a 2.5 receiver route. And what I mean by this is you've got 5-out protections where the line just knows everybody's out, or that could be obviously when you're in empty backfield, or you could be in a 4-wide set. You got one running back. He doesn't have any blitz pickup responsibilities, and so he's just out in the pattern. That's a 5-out protection. Okay, the opposite of that is when you go max, and we've seen these long developing play actions, they'll bring 2 or 3 guys in instead of having, as I said, the maximum of 5 potential receivers like you have in an empty or a 5-out protection. You're going to take those 5 eligible receivers. You're going to have 2.5 of them block. The running back might be a late release. He's going to check, and then he's going to be a late release, and that time's up. So you're asking Russ, look, you fake your run. You go 9-step. You get a lot of separation between yourself and the offensive line, and then we've got DK and we got Tyler, and they're going to be running a clear out and a deep over, or a fake the deep over and then go back high to the corner. And if we complete those, it's either going to be the big ball down the field, or in that capacity, if they don't cover the clear out, or it's going to be a 25-yard gain because we're going to hit the deep intermediate crossers, or as I described. And then we'll have maybe a running back late in the flat to influence zone defenders if they get too deep. But they block first. So those routes were called today. And you could see Russ looking down the field. He's cranking his arm. He's thinking about it. but he's not cutting it loose. So in his mind, and honestly, and I've told you this before, I don't mind saying this, until I see the coach's tape on Monday afternoon, I'm not going to really know, because the telecast doesn't show you. But I come back week after week, and then I watch the coach's tape, and hey, there's some opportunities, and I think Russell's, again, I'll repeat it, and we'll move on. Russell's idea of what constitutes open and what constitutes covered, it will slide. It's a sliding scale to him, and based on his mindset and whether how aggressive he wants to be. The exact same situation where he'll let it rip down the field. Other times he'll go, nope, yellow light, nope, red light, and then he'll check it down. And I think he was in that mentality for a good portion of the game today.
The 2 touchdowns to Tyler Lockett, and Tyler had a huge game. I mean, we have not heard from Tyler Lockett. He has been crickets since his 200-yard game against Arizona, and that was dang near 2 months ago. And he goes for 12 catches, 90 yards on 14 targets, 2 touchdowns. So, 2-part question. One, what allowed Tyler Lockett to get 14 targets today and 12 catches? So that's kind of the big picture. And then individually, tell us about that great rollout by Russ Wright, throwing it back. What'd you see there on the touchdown too? That was the game winner.
Yeah, I think for Tyler, I mean, there was a big part of the game plan to have the quick routes. So everything within 6-7 yards, and so he's quick in and out of his breaks, and so he can find little spots and zones in that regard, and he can be a tough cover because he's quicker than he is fast, and he's pretty damn fast, but I would give his quickness a higher nod. So he's a veteran, and he has a good feel for those quick routes. As far as that touchdown, the 4th down touchdown, I would say credit Seattle, and you're going to just have to look up who's number 23 for the 49ers. But by Seattle squeezing the formation on both sides, and I think it was Disley on the right side, and then Tyler Lockett had a very close alignment. Like if it had been the split end, we call that a nasty alignment. So he was very close to the ball. Number 23 was just ever so slightly outside shoulder, and he's got to worry about all the grass that is to his outside. You follow me? So yeah. Lockett has got a reduced split close to the ball. That means there's a lot of grass to the side of the field that he's on, that to Russell Wilson's right. Well, the play is designed to beat man coverage, and it was man-to-man coverage. And you get these crossing routes, and you're trying to get picks, but in reality, there didn't need to be a pick. Lockett was so, I wouldn't say quick off the ball. He ran a relatively benign route. He just ran a crossing route. He didn't stutter step like Baldwin used to do. He didn't do anything. He just ran, and he was able to create separation with his quickness. And I think 23 was just kind of late to the mark. The other point on that is Seattle did what's called a key dog blitz, where they rushed 5 and then even a 6th with coverage on the back. So I don't know who the back was. I don't know if it was Collins or Carson or whoever the back was for Seattle. When he blocked, the 49ers brought an extra blitzer. The reason that's important, you can play man-to-man, which is a 4-man rush, and then you can leave what's the term is called robbers or lurks, shallow free safety. So you might have a little deeper free safety, and then you could have a shallow free safety kind of in the middle, kind of playing what he sees. And a lot of times those guys will catch the shallow cross. They will match that shallow cross if you have one less blitzer. But because the 49ers chose to blitz what I call 5.5, you look at it as a 6-man rush, but that 6th guy is only coming because Seattle's running back is pass blocking. I'm sorry, I can't remember if it was Carson or Collins. Doesn't matter. They brought a lot of guys, which means they didn't have any robber or lurk in a position to help. Think of the play where Cam Chancellor blew up in the Super Bowl, the Broncos.
Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah, Demaryius Thomas separated his shoulder. That was that type of play where you've got extra bodies, and then when the defense recognizes shallow cross, then you have a lurk or a robber fire on that shallow cross. So there was nobody there to help number 23. 23 was lined up a little bit too outside. There wasn't any pick or rub like you would draw. If we drew that up on the whiteboard and we discussed what's the concept of the play, on that whiteboard, as the offense coordinator and the defensive coordinator wrestling, like, how is this going to be executed? The defensive coordinator said, "Hey, dude, I'll just run with you on a shallow cross." And the offense coordinator will say, "No, I'm going to get rubs on you. There's going to be a moment where you have to hesitate because we've got other crossing routes coming at you, and your defender is going to be wary of getting picked off." And yet none of that happened. It was just, as I said, a race to run that shallow cross by Lockett, and 23 was just a step behind. And then, of course, with under a little bit of duress, Russell, he had a decision to make about what his trajectory was. And there's a one ball, which is as hard as you can throw. A two ball is a little bit of touch, but you can't have too much touch because there's a converging defender. And then a three ball is one you can throw as high as you want because there's nobody there to converge in front of it. You're just pulling a guy away. So Russ chose to throw a three ball high up in the air. Of course, you have to lead the receiver a lot more, right? If you're going to throw it that high of a trajectory, you got to lead him all the way over the sideline. And, I thought there was a little bit of a bobble. I thought they might review that, but he was able to secure the touchdown. So they would have been the 3 seed the other way, but you know what? 12-4 sounds a lot better than 11-5. If you don't execute on that play, you're an 11-5 football team,
right.
Possibly, and you did, and so you're 12-4. So really, really nice job, and some nice coaching in terms of, as I said, the formation, and then Russ making the decision to just lay the ball out there in man coverage.
Injury news coming out of Pete Carroll's press conference. Jamal Adams hurt his shoulder. He says we'll see what that means. The early stuff from the trainer is that he'll play next week, so some good news there. Rashad Penny, it was just a cramp. He's fine. Jaron Reed has an oblique strain. And then from Field Yates, by the way, the end of the game, why they didn't kneel. As it turns out, David Moore needed one more catch to reach a receptions incentive in his contract, and so they gave him that.
Well, that's pretty cool. Not a lot of teams do that, do they, Hugh? I mean, you see it occasionally, but especially for like a guy like David Moore, I mean, that's tipping the.
Yeah, it is, but it's nice of them. I was on the field once time. We played the Cowboys in the last game of the season. If we beat them, they're out of the playoffs. So it was real simple from them. And I was with the Falcons, and we had Andre Rison, and here at the end of the game, there's like 3 minutes to go, and the PA goes, "Congratulations!" This is a PA. "Congratulations to Andre Rison. He has tied a franchise record for whatever it was."
Man, I was really looking forward to hearing the end of that. I will say this. I think we have a break coming up. I will say this. In terms of incentives at the end of the game, somebody this week needs to talk to Mike Holmgren about Sean Alexander, Curtis Martin, and Matt Hasselbeck running the ball in from the one when Sean finished 1 yard behind Curtis Martin for the rushing title. It just said.
Thanks, Boom. And in addition to that, you reminded me, I did forget one season where they went better than 12-4 or better. Mike Holmgren, man, 2005. How did I forget that season on my list? So this is the fifth time, only the fifth time. So basically, on average, about one out of every 4.5 years, they finish with, 1 out of every 9.5 years, they finish with 12-4 record or better. Some other stats here, and we'll take a quick time out and get Hugh back. 459 points. I mean, how ironic is this? We spent all this time bitching and moaning about the offense, Slickhawk. The 459 points by the Seahawks, the most ever scored in 45 years of this franchise, and yet, my God, what's wrong with the offense, right? I mean, if that isn't Seahawk Nation in a nutshell, I don't know what is.
But were you okay with what you saw today?
No, I understand. There's room for concern with the offense.
The point total is, but I'm just saying, we have eyeballs too.
Well, and it's also been a consistent thing because a lot of times you get to those elite point numbers by, the outlier games, right? The 51-point game, the 47-point game, stuff like that. And Seahawks just haven't had those this year. I mean, they've just been like consistently 25 to 30 points just about every single time out. So that's something that at least I think you can hang your hat on because rarely do we see this offense just get held for 4 quarters. We see it a lot get held for 2. We see it sometimes get held for 3, but we rarely see this offense get held for 4 straight quarters in a football game. Russell Wilson against top 5 pass defenses. Great tweet by a Seahawks PR. This is the 10th time since 2018 that Russell Wilson has faced a top 5 pass defense. He is 8-2 with 16 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He is also now 15-4 lifetime against the San Francisco 49ers. Softy is right. He says just hashtag daddy on that one. 15-4 against the Santa Clara 49ers. Who's your daddy? Indeed. We'll get final thoughts from Hugh and Slick and get you to Sunday Night Football. Obviously a big one. If you're a Washington football team fan, they need a win to get in to book that final playoff ticket. That'll be next on 950 KJR after our final segment of 12th Man Postgame Show.
Tune in to Chuck and Buck every weekday morning for the 12th Man News at 7 with Tacoma News Tribune's Greg Bell on your home for the 12th Man and the NFL. Seattle Sports Radio 950, KJR.
All right, final 6 was Slick of the season. Just thinking about what it means in terms of playoff seeding. I believe that the graphic I just saw a few minutes ago, you've got Tampa Bay with the 5 seed, which means I think you wouldn't see them until the NFC Championship, because if you win next week, then you're going to face either the 1 or the 2, I guess, unless the 5 Tampa Bay and then the 7, which is Chicago. I don't know, unless they both all win. Point is, I have to look at it. Everything's changed. I haven't had a chance to look at it. Throw me your comments. This is your last chance, by the way, to get comments in for the 6 with Slick for the regular season. Of course, we're going to have more post-game shows because we have more games, because we're in the playoffs. That's what's up. Andy, our offense better figure out how to pull their head out. 3 yards entire third quarter will not work against the Saints or Packers if we're lucky enough to get past the Rams. I guess, I'm going to sound like 2013 Slickhawk here, Andy. I guess as long as the defense keeps them in it, then they can scuffle like that. Look, we have seen this before. Mayoa, hell of a play for Benson Mayoa. We've seen this before, where the offense takes a long time to get going, but the defense keeps them in the game, and then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, here come the Seahawks. I don't prefer to play that way, but I prefer to win at the end of the game, and if that's what it's going to look like, then that's what it is. Now, it didn't work last year in the playoffs against the Packers, so you can't have that kind of. You've got to wake up early, and you got to actually perform offensively early on against the Packers, and in all likelihood, you'll end up facing them at some point in the playoffs. So Lamont says Moore made some huge plays for us. He's deserved that. He has been there. He has been. At times he's been huge for the Seahawks. So just one catch, yeah, absolutely. Go, get it for him. Jay, did the whole league figure out how to shut our offense down? What's going on? 3 yards of offense in the third quarter. Yeah, that was a little upsetting. I don't know. I don't know if he's biting off more than he can chew, and then by the time he looks to check it down, it's too late. But the offense looks kind of broken right now. It just doesn't look functional, and I don't know where that comes from, and I don't know how you fix it in a week. But, at least you see a familiar foe that you just beat up on a week ago in the Rams. So, you should be able to win that game and then just kind of see where you're at after that. Eric says, please let Adams and Reed be okay. I think Adams is going to be all right. An oblique strain for Reed, that doesn't sound serious. But as somebody who's never really had an oblique, I don't know how serious that is. So, Andy says, need to focus on the Rams starting immediately. I started last week, whatever. I'll focus right now. It's a team you just got done playing. The plan shouldn't be too different. It's the same guy. Well, I guess it's not the same guys. If you have Walford, right, instead of Jared Goff, so it is a little different. Walford, he played in the AAF. I saw him a little bit. He's more mobile than Jared Goff. So they're going to run, they already run a lot of bootlegs, but he's actually going to take off and run where Jared Goff didn't really want to do that. So there's, obviously there's a drop off in talent, but it's not like you could just sleepwalk to a victory. I think to fix Russ, more tight end plays. I'm with you on that. Well, yeah, absolutely. Use those tight ends. I like that tight end room. Greg Wood, seems like Russ is best out of the pocket. Roll him out. And, against the Rams, that's when he was most effective. Late in the game, they rolled him out. They did some stuff like that. They got him on the move, and he was definitely effective. So, good point there by Greg. He got him moving. So, Seahawks are a 3 seed now. The 1 seed, who is the Packers, the 2 seed, the Saints. So, The worst seed left after this weekend is going to travel to Green Bay in the divisional round. And then the second worst will go to New Orleans, right? So, yeah, so that's how that works. So Jamie says Russell Wilson, game manager. I'm not going to go that far. I think that there's some things that he wants to do and he just doesn't have the confidence to do right now. But I don't think that's the plan. The game plan for the Seahawks right now, I don't believe is to have him be a game manager. No, I don't believe that. Defense will be excellent next week. Rich, I believe you. Defense has been excellent this whole way. So the second half of the season. I mean, it is, you know, they gave up some points today in garbage time, whatever. But I was real happy with the effort of the defense. So that's a defense I am happy to be carrying into the playoffs. All right, Dick Fain is back. One last segment here before we kick it off to Sunday Night Football. This is the 12-man post-game show presented by Steel on Sports Radio 950 KJR.
Now back to the 12th Man postgame show, powered by Real Steel. Find yours. Visit your local Steel dealer today on your home for the 12th Man and the NFL. Seattle Sports Radio 950 KJR.
Great job by Slickhawk and his 6 with Slick all season long here on the 12th Man postgame show. If you haven't followed us and watched us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on wherever else we are on social media, you're missing out on 6 with Slick, man. Get us on the social media. But final few minutes, guys, before we get to Sunday Night Football, and just looking at Twitter while Slick was doing his 6 with Slick, I want to get your take on this comment. I mean, we don't have the audio yet, but we will. Believe me, we will play it 50 times. To my over/under on the amount of times we will play this Aaron Donald audio tomorrow on the radio station is about. I'm going to go 49 and a half. I'm going to set the over/under. Lindsay Theory was interviewing Aaron Donald after the Rams game today, and her last question was. It looks like you're going to get Seattle in the first, and she couldn't even get first round out of her mouth before Aaron Donald looked at her and said, that's who we wanted. That's who we wanted all along. So, Hugh, your thoughts there on the first salvo fired by the best defensive player in football at the Seattle Seahawks for this first-round matchup?
Well, if there's anybody who can make that kind of statement, it would be him. But that point notwithstanding, I would say if the Seahawks are competitors, then that should be locker room material. I mean, Don James, when he had bulletin board material and then extra special quotes where that was your locker, they would copy off Xerox all the quotes, highlight them in yellow, and tape into each and every locker. So, look. When they stop putting a scoreboard in the back of the end zone, then we'll stop caring about things like that. But as of right now, it's a competitor's world. You win or lose, and to me, I want to be around competitors, and I would hope that the Seahawks would take that personally. You say, well, they don't need extra juice; they're pros. They, just being in the playoffs is enough. You know what? Every little bit helps, and that can take, galvanizing, just crystallize towards the objective. So I think as the adage says, be careful what you wish for, and Seattle's got to make that a prophecy.
Slick, they took care of him last week. You feel good about him taking care of him next week?
Well, it's a different. Anytime you're facing a different quarterback, it's a different situation. Obviously, Jared Goff is more talented than John Wofford, right? So you've got that, but he does things that Goff doesn't do. He likes to get out and run. He's more athletic that way, and so all the play action and boot action that they like to do. Jared Goff would prefer to kind of use that to set up the throw. If it's not there, Wofford will take off and run. So it is a little bit of a different team that you're going to be facing if Jared Goff can't play. Cam Akers obviously played today, so he's back. So that's another concern. So it's going to be a different deal than it was last week.
Yeah, they're much more balanced in the running game now with Cam Akers there. Hugh, your final thoughts on this one, and then we'll let you go. And we appreciate you joining us on location down in Arizona today. We'll shout out for the porch, right? Shout out to the porch today for allowing Hugh Breedlove Millen to do his Seahawk breakdown down there at the sports bar to watch the Hawks game and get on this one. But just final thoughts on this regular season and going ahead to the playoffs again.
Well, 12-4 is really a hell of a record. It's near a franchise record, and it's something that we should just pause and smell the roses. And so if our job is just to make sure that they feel, represented and make them feel appreciated for the achievement that it was, then I guess we can do that. I think that's fair and appropriate. As far as the game itself, I think Russ just kind of found a time when it was go time. He was able to turn on the trigger, and the offensive line, where they had been able to get nothing going on the inside runs, they were able to get inside runs. And so I think the offense just kind of stepped up. The defense was pretty consistent, as you would expect them to be against a third-string quarterback throughout the game. And of course, they had the big sack and to really seal it. But now it's a deal where the Seahawks are the underdogs in the playoffs. They've never gone to the Super Bowl as an underdog. And so let's just see what they have. I think that the NFC is beatable. If I had to bet the field of the Seahawks, I'd bet the field. Sure. But I don't see anybody who's just like a monster. If you have to go to Green Bay, you're going to have to battle the weather, but you're going to have benign conditions because there's no fans, right?
I think I bet the field over any individual team in the NFC.
Yeah, probably. And if you have to go to New Orleans, then that's usually a daunting task because they have in a dome an incredible home field advantage. So I think both Green Bay and New Orleans have the traditional home field advantage has been vastly mitigated. Of course, Tom Brady is Tom Brady. Is he still Tom Brady at 43 if you have to play him? I'm not just discounting the Rams, but if you can't beat the Rams with a backup quarterback, then it's silly we're even talking about what the potential is for being the NFC champion. So I don't want to overlook that, but I look at the NFC and I do think that if Seattle plays their best football, they can be as good as anybody.
Sounds good. Thanks, Hugh. Appreciate it. Safe travels. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning and beyond all week long. Thanks, Hugh.
You bet.
That's Hugh Breedlove Millen from Arizona. Slick, final thoughts from you. 12-4. They're taking on the LA Rams next week.
Who ends up with the 7th seed? Is it the Bears or
the Chicago Bears are at New Orleans next week. Okay,
so here's the deal. If the Bears beat New Orleans and you win, then the Bears would actually go to the Packers, and then you would actually end up hosting, I believe, the Tampa Bay Bucks in round 2. So that's something. You could end up hosting two games, and then depending on what, you could end up hosting the whole damn thing. So, look, that 3 seed, very important. Glad they did it. 12-4, great record. It's been a great season. Can't wait for these playoffs, and go Hawks.
Thanks to Slick. Thanks to Hugh. Dick Fain saying so long, and we'll see who is the final ticket puncher in the NFC playoffs. Will it be Washington with a win tonight, or will it be the New York Giants? It's 6-10. Find out next right here on Sports Radio 950 KJO.